Hello everyone, and welcome back to our series on the Indian Constitution. Today, we're reaching the very end of our constitutional journey, focusing on Part 22. Now, I know what you might be thinking. The last part, maybe it's just some minor concluding stuff, but for UPSC aspirants, every single part of the Constitution is crucial, and Part 22 is no exception. It contains some very important provisions that tie the entire document together. So, let's dive right in and unpack what Part 22 is all about. Part 22 of the Indian Constitution is titled, short title, Commencement, Authoritative Text in Hindi, and Repeals. It's a short part, consisting of just 4 articles, Article 393, 394, 394, and 395. Think of this part as the administrative section that handles the housekeeping details of the Constitution itself. It tells us what the Constitution is called, when it came into effect, how it's officially translated, and what it replaced. These might seem like simple details, but they are foundational to understanding the legal status and history of our governing document. Let's start with the very first article in this part, Article 393. This article gives the Constitution its official name. It simply states, "This Constitution may be called the Constitution of India." It's a short and direct statement, but its significance is immense. It provides a formal, legal title for the supreme law of the land. In all legal documents, court proceedings, and official communications, when we refer to the Constitution of India, we are invoking the authority granted by this very article. 1. For your exams, it's a straightforward fact to remember, but it's the legal anchor that gives our Constitution its identity. Next up, we have Article 394, which deals with the commencement of the Constitution. This is a particularly interesting one for history buffs. And of course, for all of you, it specifies when the Constitution, or parts of it, came into force. We all celebrate Republic Day on January 26, 1950, as the day our Constitution fully came into effect. But did you know that some parts of it were enacted much earlier? Article 394 clarifies this two-step commencement process. It states that this article itself, Article 394, along with a few others, would come into force at once. Which others? Well, it lists them out. Articles 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, which deal with citizenship. Then, Article 60, concerning the oath or affirmation by the President. Also, Article 324 on the Election Commission. Articles 366 and 367, which are definition and interpretation clauses. Article 379, 380, 388, 391, and 392, which were transitional provisions. These provisions were necessary to set up the basic framework and ensure a smooth transition of power. For example, you needed citizenship laws to know who the citizens of the new republic were, and you needed an election commission to prepare for the first general elections. These came into effect on November 26, 1949, the day the Constituent Assembly adopted the Constitution. Then, the article goes on to say that the remaining provisions of the Constitution would come into force on the 26th day of January, 1950. This date is referred to in the article as the commencement of this Constitution. So, we have 2 key dates. November 26th, 1949, when the Constitution was adopted and certain provisions came into force, and January 26, 1950, when the rest of the Constitution commenced, marking India's transition to a fully sovereign republic. This distinction is a potential question area in your prelims, so make sure you're clear on which articles were enforced on which date. The choice of January 26th is also historically significant, as it was the day the Indian National Congress had declared Purna Swaraj, or complete independence, back in 1930. Now, let's move on to the next article, which is Article 394A. This one deals with the authoritative text in the Hindi language. This article wasn't part of the original Constitution. It was added later by the 58th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1987, What do Situ. It empowers the President to publish an official translation of the Constitution in Hindi. Article 394A specifies a few things. First, The President shall cause to be published a translation of the Constitution in Hindi, signed by the members of the Constituent Assembly. It also provides for the publication of a Hindi translation of any amendments made to the Constitution. The crucial part of this article is that it declares this Hindi translation to be the authoritative text of the Constitution in the Hindi language. This means that for all official and legal purposes, the Hindi version has the same legal sanctity as the original English version. If there is any confusion or discrepancy in interpretation arising from the translation, the President is empowered to revise the Hindi text to align with the English original. This article reflects the constitutional commitment to promoting Hindi as an official language while ensuring legal consistency. For your mains, this could be linked to questions on official languages and national integration. Finally, we arrive at the last article of the Indian Constitution, Article 395. This article is titled, To repeal means to revoke or annul a law. So, what did the Constitution of India repeal? Article 395 is the final act that legally severed India's legislative ties to the British Parliament. It specifically repeals two key acts. The first is the Indian Independence Act of 1947. This was the act of the British Parliament that partitioned British India and created the two independent dominions of India and Pakistan. By repealing this, the newly formed Republic of India asserted its own sovereign and independent legal authority, deriving its power from its own people through the Constitution, not from a British law. The second act, repealed by Article 395, is the Government of India Act of 1935, along with all its amending or supplementing acts. The 1935 Act had served as the interim constitutional framework for India during the transition period. The Constituent Assembly itself was constituted under its provisions. However, once the new constitution was in place, this older colonial-era framework was no longer needed. It was formally set aside. However, Article 395 includes an important caveat. It states that the abolition of these acts would not affect the jurisdiction of the Privy Council in certain pending cases. This was a transitional arrangement to deal with legal appeals that were already in progress, before the Supreme Court of India was fully established as the final court of appeal. This small detail shows the meticulous planning that went into ensuring legal continuity and avoiding a judicial vacuum. So, let's do a quick recap of Part 22. It's the concluding part of our Constitution, containing Articles 393 to 395. Article 393 gives us the short title, The Constitution of India. Article 394 details the commencement, with some articles starting on November 26, 1949, and the majority on January 26, 1950, Article 394A, added by the 58th Amendment, provides for an authoritative text of the Constitution in Hindi. And finally, Article 395 formally repeals the Indian Independence Act of 1947 and the Government of India Act of 1935, symbolizing the ultimate legal break from the colonial past and the establishment of a new, sovereign, constitutional order. Why is this part important for UPSC? Well, for prelims, you can expect direct questions about the articles, the dates, the repealed acts, or the amendment that added Article 394A. For mains, understanding Part 22 helps you build a complete narrative of the making and the implementation of the Constitution. It asks about appreciating the legal craftsmanship that went into not just creating new laws, but also formally concluding the old ones. It provides context for questions on constitutional history, the transfer of power, and the nature of Indian sovereignty. When you think about it, Part 22 is like the final chapter of an epic story. It gives the story its name, tells you when it officially began, ensures it can be read and understood in a major native language, and formally closes the door on the previous era. It is a testament to the foresight of the framers of our Constitution that they included this part to ensure a clean, orderly, and legally sound transition. They didn't just write a constitution, they launched it with precision. I hope this detailed explanation of Part 22 has been helpful. It might be a short part, but its articles are dense with legal and historical significance. Make sure to revise these articles and understand their implications. It's these small details that can often make a big difference in your exam scores. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video useful, Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content on the Indian Constitution and other UPSI subjects. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Keep studying, stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next one.